Good morning, everyone. I hope you are all well. So we are gonna let a few more minutes for people to join, and I will introduce the training today. Good morning. It's really good to see that there's many people from all places around the Mediterranean region and beyond. I think it's going to be an interesting way to also share ideas and insights from different places. And I'm going to give 2 more minutes so I can introduce the workshop and everyone can follow what we will be doing today. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for introducing yourselves in the chat. Feel free to put your name, where are you coming from, organizations. The idea of today is to do a bit of networking and also to learn from each other. So I'm gonna start by welcoming all of you. Thank you for being here in this second communication workshop. This is organized by the Interreg Green Growth Community. And my name is Patricia Carbonell. I'm the communications manager of this community, and I'm part of the Revolve team. It's a communications agency based in Barcelona. And I'm here today with Marta and Martina, who also helped in the organization of this event, and they will be facilitating the session with me. So today we have prepared a very interactive workshop that uses system innovation approach to improve communication practices, no? And we will discover what that means, no? What system innovation is. The idea came after looking at the overall state of the planet's health and realizing the need for a radical shift towards alternative socioeconomic models of consumption and production, which is basically what the ultimate goal of the Green Growth Community it's about. I see that more people is joining, so I'm gonna wait a few seconds. Okay, so everyone can follow. So basically from the Green Growth Community, we believe that climate innovation needs to embrace systems innovation. And this is a concept that more and more we are actually listening about, because it's about the interconnection of everything and the value chain sort of understanding, no, of all the products and services that we have. So we need to tap into these opportunities for resource efficiency and for a more circular economy at large, no? So to do this, we believe as communicators that we need new ways of thinking that allow us to generate options in the face of the unknown future that we face. So this is where communications come in. It has a huge role to play because it allows us to raise awareness about specific topics, and it also influences values and actions at the end of the day. So the idea with this connection between system innovation and communication practices is to say stories affect the way we think. They make us project the world we believe in and ultimately the world that we create. So I think it's about this exercise today, no? About the way we think and the way we imagine things allow us to create a better world, a better future, no? That we envision. So today that's the idea. We want to experiment with our own imagination and creativity to create more constructive stories of a given desired future. Let's go to the next slide. so I can explain the methodology behind this. So today we will be using a system innovation tool that is called the Vision Story Canva. And this is a method that we discovered thanks to the work of the EIT, the European Institute of Technology, with the area of climate kick. They created a system innovation toolbox that deep dives into the power of envisioning things to make them happen. The object of this game, because it's actually a game, is to suspend all skeptical thinking, no, all disbelief, and envision a future state that is so good that it landed in your project in the cover of a very well-known magazine. No? So if we imagine that our story is going to be in that magazine, we might work towards that goal. So that's the idea. The players, which will be us today, all of the participants here today, must pretend that this future has already taken place and it has been reported by the mainstream media. Okay, so this game is worth playing because it's about thinking big, but it also plants the seeds for a better future, no? That perhaps wasn't possible before we started this. So this is the idea. So why is useful? This kind of exercise is to help break down limits, our own mindset and barriers, to communicate better and generate new ideas and insights. It also helps us to bring together different stakeholders who build a vision of change and share the risks and benefits of that project or transition. It's also very simple in some way, and it has the capacity to introduce disruptive ideas that maybe they are absolutely disconnected from the present time, and this is the idea, to imagine the future, and simulate and explore complex systems. No? How are the interactions? How are the dynamics taking place? Okay, so this is the methodology behind the game today, and now I will explain the case study that we will use. So the challenge that we are including today, it's around ensuring a sustainable olive oil production, basically. We are using a very traditional product from the Mediterranean region, and it's also one of the projects of the Green Growth Community. The project that worked on this is called Aristoil Plus, and basically the idea is that it promotes the health benefits of the extra virgin olive oil in the Mediterranean and beyond. Okay, so this is only a case study, but I wanted to explain you why we chose that. So basically they've been doing olive oil samples across the Mediterranean region to get more information about the product qualities, no? And to understand from a consumer's perspective to increase awareness about the health benefits. From the regional and local authorities, they also presented all this information so they can take it into account in the regulatory frameworks. Also, it's been presented to international NGOs and local interest groups that also can work together in creating clusters or organizations that work towards the inclusion of olive oil qualities across the whole value chain. So I think this is the kind of idea, no? We're looking at how this challenge can be looked from different perspectives. And this is the challenge today. And the idea is that we break out in different rooms, in 3 rooms, and we will have a different role to play. So it's a role game. One breakout room will be based on a civil society approach. And just to explain, civil society can take many forms, of course, and can change based on the communities that they emerge from. But usually it's a community of people sharing common interests and activities. And this is what they bring them together. No? Civil society can be from a consumer perspective or from an association or from clusters, but basically involves social participation. It's somehow empowered and it allows alliances. Then we have, of course, the government. Public policy has a crucial role to play in creating spaces where system innovation is initiated and scaled up. So we want to imagine how government can really advance in this specific challenge of ensuring a sustainable olive oil production. And then we want to imagine the role of the industry. Of course, at the end of the day, those are the ones that the startups, the big companies or SMEs that are bringing forward these innovations. Okay, so that's why we want to play with different roles. If you have any comments so far, feel free to add them in the chat. But basically what I want to do now is to explain you the whole process. So basically you will see the different steps that we will be doing in the breakout rooms. So we have some space to discuss, to reflect, to play at the end of the day. And the whole idea with this, as I said, is to put ourselves in the future. And that is the price for the creativity, because it's not necessarily to be feasible, it's not necessary to be probable, it's just not part of the criteria, no? It's just to build a common vision and to work on radical ideas that might come to mind. So this is the first step.
May I ask a question? Hello, dear colleague from Turkey. Could we get a record after the meeting to share our other colleagues and to discuss also the presentation? Record of today meeting.
Sure, yeah, I will send you the recordings afterwards. We are recording the full session, so for everyone that cannot join today, because we had to also limit the number of participants to allow for nice discussions afterwards, we can share it with them. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Very valuable study for application.
Yeah, I think that's the whole point. We will play around one challenge, but I think you can extrapolate this idea to all your projects, your organization, a given challenge that you want to bring solutions. So it's just about understanding the methodology and why we do things. And that's one of the main reasons today of being here, is to not only talk about communications as a narrative, no, it's more about the thinking behind, no, the mindsets that we need to shift to be able to communicate in a more constructive way. And for that, we need to imagine things. And for that, we need to work towards the world we want to create, no? It sounds a bit abstract and romantic, but it's the reality, no? So once we have now covered the challenge, the stakeholders, I was just explaining the process, no, of envisioning this future. Here, what I have included is some questions that in the breakout rooms you will be able to play and put some posits. Basically, these questions are related to the different levels of change in a system innovation approach. The different levels of change that we need are culture and values. We need to understand what are the values of that society. We need to understand the policy, the regulatory frameworks that are in that society 10 years from now. We are playing around. We need to imagine the infrastructure, how the city or the region is actually built, the production system, new business models, how are they interacting, how are the transactions, and the technologies. No, somehow technology is already integrated in our society, so we need to envision how that will influence the state of the art in 10 years from now. So these are the different levels of change, and you have some questions to work upon in this slide. The next one, it's the actual work that we need to fill in. If you go to the next one, yeah, here we have the visual story canvas. And by the end of this session, we will be able to complete a story, the different elements of that story, and bring it back to the plenary so we can reflect, no, and about how different stakeholders have put some narratives in place, how they managed to cover this story in a different magazine. So basically, it's about generating the story of the year about your product. So we will put the best case scenarios for this challenge and we will fill it in. So we will have around 40 minutes to work in groups, and then we will be back, and one volunteer from the team will be sharing the story that you have produced with the different elements. Okay, so 5 minutes per group and we wrap up. And that will allow us to imagine how the story has been written with different approaches. Now, the first step to fill the Canva is the cover. And the cover is just a short sentence. It should not be more than 8 words, but it's appealing, it's easy to convey, it's a bit somehow sexy, no? It needs to attract the attention of people. Of course, it tells the great story behind your success. Okay, so you need to already put yourself in the foot of that stakeholder and in the success of that service, which is the ensuring a sustainable production of the olive oil. Okay. So here we have put an example. So olive oil groves are no longer deserts, they are now oases. So short, and basically in this case, we are talking, maybe we go to the next slide and we explain what's the radical idea behind this title. So the radical idea, it's something that drove us to work on this. So the radical idea, it's behind everything we do. It's the idea that full the process of making that story, where this idea came from. So the idea behind the title that I just said, it's increasing biodiversity and soil health. So it's very easy to imagine yourself, like, why will I do this? It's because I want to improve the biodiversity, So the need to transform dry lands into something that uses agroforestry techniques, and of course there's a cooperation involved between the land managers. So this is the imagine that the example that we want to put as an example. After the radical idea, and this is not a linear process, you can go back and forth, you need to think about the quotes. What others will be saying about your work, it's very important. It's not only your own perspective, it's what others will say. And every quote can be from anyone, as long as they are related to the story. So if you imagine what others will say from a consumer perspective, or from a policy, or from a SME, it's saying a lot, about your project. And somehow every story should include perspectives from different angles. So here we have one where before there were only olive trees, now we can see an edible forest and regenerative agriculture in the land. And this is all made up. It's rural farmers in action. It can be a woman-led initiative. It can be something more disruptive than that. We're talking here about civil society. So we can let our imagination flow. After the quotes, we will be working on a stack of papers. And a stack of papers basically mean what's behind the story in terms of not only the success drove you here, it's also the drawbacks, it's also the pitfalls, it's also the milestone that you decided to put in your goal. And it's about the new alliances that you have done. So here, it's about imagining what is behind this title that you chose and this radical idea. So here, for example, we have written Spanish land managed to recover 20% of its biodiversity loss over the past 10 years. That's a milestone. Now, if we are looking at 10 years from now, we can include a target. And maybe one of the pitfalls is like whenever no one believed in the power of extra virgin olive oil in rural areas, suddenly that place, it has win a lot of value. So it can have different angles here. And then we go into the last slide, which is about the images that usually accompany your story. I think that also adds a lot of power and impact to your story. So the idea here is that you think of, or draw, or choose from the internet 3 photos, one that it's more on the short term, one in the middle, and one in the long term. So here the idea is that we, for example, in this case, we selected an image of a more diverse landscape. So it more like trees and vegetables and different elements are integrated in the landscape. So it's more vibrant. Then we imagine a world in which the different actors are working together in collaboration. So they use the waste of the extra virgin olive oil to produce cosmetic products, and not only to produce the products, but also the packaging of these products. So it's more circular, and they are all working locally to produce these different elements of the olive. And then in a future world, we can imagine houses being built with the own olives, and it's kind of part of our core, not only the diets, but also how we produce materials. In this case will be biomaterials. So it's about putting a world that can be feasible or not, but we just imagine it. Okay. And this is it. Once we have gone through the different steps, which are 5 steps, doing a bit of brainstorming, we will go back to the Canva and we will try to select the one story that you want to communicate to the whole team. Maybe you realize that there's been 3 good ideas or more than that, because you will be sharing whatever comes to your mind or writing them in post-its. The idea is that you select the one that has a lot of coherency, somehow. So the idea is that you can bring that into the Canva that we saw at the beginning, and then we come back to the group and we share it. So it's the story of the year that appears in the magazines. Any questions so far? Some of you might have missed some of the explanation, but since we are gonna move into the breakout rooms, my colleagues as well can explain you what the main idea behind these steps is, okay? We are gonna have enough time to deep dive, take our time. I think we can introduce each other, or whether we have any relationship with this topic, or if we have any coincidence with the stakeholder that might have. So we are gonna divide the groups randomly. So we will mix ourselves and see what happens, okay? If you don't have, yeah, let's show the canvas again before we go into the breakout rooms. So, okay. So I saw that some people have joined in the past few minutes. So I'm gonna explain again what the canvas is about. So the visual story canvas allows us to create the story of the year. So we are gonna imagine ourselves 10 years from now, talking about the success of our project, okay? We are using a specific challenge, we are using a specific role play, so we can put ourselves on the foot of this role. We will be filling the cover, which is the title. We will fill in the radical idea behind the project. So what drove us, how the idea emerged. We will be talking about quotes that others are saying about this success. We'll be talking about images that we will use, or drawings, feel free, and the drawbacks and pitfalls and milestones that are behind as well this story. No? So we will have one slide for each of these elements, so you can think a little bit about this and then bring one story here to the Canva, okay? And we will discuss it in the group after 40 minutes or so, no? 35 minutes or so we have. So let's jump into it. Don't be shy, don't be nervous, doesn't matter. Every idea is welcome and there's no good or bad here. It's just about game storming. This is the whole point. How did it go? Was a challenge, eh? I think that was a starting point, no? To get to imagine and envision a desired world and all the elements that are interconnected, not to make it happen. Of course, this has been just a taste to get us thinking about the main elements that we should consider for every story. And also a nice exercise, not to think about systems innovation in a way that allow us to put ourselves in different roles, which is hard, allow us to put ourselves in a business that is not ours, and we might not be experts in, but when we read content and we feel inspired by it and it's affecting us, no? And again, it's about this point of imagining and thinking about new ways of communicating and making them happen. So I think we can maybe start with some of the reflections from the different groups. Marta, I don't know if you wanna start or choosing, I don't know who's the person that was in the breakout room of, what's the role that you had?
We were the government.
Okay.
So we will have Vanya sharing what we have been discussing.
Should we share the screen?
Yeah, if you want, I can.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yes.
So go ahead, Vanya.
Yes, we was the government, and the first thing that I don't know if we need to go back to the vision, but we imagine yes, very shortly, a more sustainable vision. So with a production of food that respect the environment, but also is able to achieve self-sustainability also of the production in Europe, and also with respect to also the life of cities where we use more bicycle than cars, with zero traffic individually and so on, and also with an improvement of the rural areas. So the point is that, yes, I base my idea on my personal experience. There are several rural areas in, I know in Italy, but also in other parts of Europe that are suffering from depopulation. And we think that a way to stop the depopulation is to support people, especially young people, to cultivate olive oil. So my cover story is the population is stopped thanks to the organic cultivation of traditional variety of olive oil and to produce extra virgin olive oil. And so I think that the radical idea is that to make people able to live and produce olive oil in rural areas is also to transfer the information technologies to have good internet services and other innovation, for example, in order to make people, young people, able to use e-commerce to sell the olive oil. So this is was the radical idea. The next step was the quote.
Yeah.
I imagine a young farmer awarded for the best extra virgin olive oil of the country that stated that I have realized my dream of being able to continue my grandparents' business in a sustainable way without leaving the village where I was born. I'm born, maybe. And next point is that one of the middle step is also, I think, to creating public-private partnership to extend the best internet technologies that are available also in rural areas, and also to give subsidies to permit young people to move or stay in rural areas. I think I'm the government. I know that the already exists at the union, at the European Union level, some subsidies for young people that move in agriculture, but we need also to support to move in rural areas. So something different. I think it was the last point that I wrote.
Because we didn't have time for the stories, for the images, sorry.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That's impressive what you managed to cover in 35 minutes.
Thank you.
Really nice. Nice story. Yeah. I like that transition towards rural communities and this empowerment, no? Yeah, from the government. Okay, so maybe we pass it over to Martina, who's gonna speak from your team, which is the role of industry, right? SMEs.
Yes. Marta, I'm gonna share you the link. Maybe we can share the screen from there. This is our Jumpboard, and Sarah will explain.
Okay, I'm going to present the business actor or the industry and the brainstorming that we had. And we had created the 3 stories from the perspective of the business sector. And yes, the first story is about drones, because we have created a story. It's Evgenia, excuse me in the pronunciation. The cover is how drones help us monitor olive oil fields. And this will be like the sexy, attractive headline. And then for this story also, we will just present a story after the other, okay? Next, we had the radical idea to use technological achievements to traditional sectors, such as olive oil production, improving field processes, and minimizing the time needed. And then moving on with the quote, we had created one quote from the CEO or the /farmer. Since drones become our collaborators, our performance in terms of quality and quantity increased significantly. And next, the stack of papers. Farmers were reluctant in using drones because they were afraid that this was the beginning of automation resulting in losing their jobs in the future. So here we have decided to choose one of the drawbacks or maybe the challenges that was in the story. And then we had created, Googled on an image that is possibly suitable for the, for the story. This was the first story. And then we had also another story related to circular beauty. And here we imagined ourselves also like a business of circular beauty. We did not do the cover, but yeah, we have the radical idea, which is sustainability is our responsibility. We use olive oil byproducts and waste to boost circular beauty. And then we had oh, I think we did not finish this. Yeah. Yeah, I think we did not have a quote for this story. Then next. Yeah, neither a stack of paper. We were just running out of time. So the third story that we had is about the robots, because we imagined that maybe robots will take over the farmers in the coming future. And the headline or the cover is "Robots, the New Farmers of Olives." And then like that they're replacing the traditional farmers. And here we had some radical idea. That is, robots are more efficient, work in less time, and are helping in better olives production in the Mediterranean. And this is like the main idea behind it. And then we have quotes, people who are with and people who are against. We lost our jobs after the start of robots in the olive industry, a farmer, but the CEO thinking like robots have helped a lot in achieving our goals of the future. And last, we had also stack of papers. No one believed that robots could replace the farmers and the growers. It was rather a cultural and societal boundary that was blocking the idea. It was a real challenge. And here again, we thought like, what is the problem about the story? And then the end, we have also images of a robot in the field, and under it, like some olive trees, like the long-term and the short-term images. That's it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sarah. So you managed to put more than one story. So very good. And you managed to also think about the visual accompaniment. So very good. Okay, so I think we can go to the last one, which is the role of civil society. I don't know if Marta, you can share the Jumpboard. And I think Albert might take us through, and I can also jump in.
Yeah. Well, no. Thank you, Patricia. I will try to do my best. I'm sure that I will forget a lot of details, but because we had a discussion with a lot of angles, but I think that we were talking about new products or trying to have a view from the zero waste perspective, or about the possibility to create new products or new services, or about the role of the communities in the olive oil sector, or with the things that can derive from that. And I think that at least we find that it was interesting just to discuss about the role or the access of the local communities to the products or the olive oil plantation itself. For example, we were talking about some crazy ideas about the possibilities just to have open space or open access to citizens or to communities just to pick up the olives and produce their own products, or well, maybe in a more integrated way, just to how to facilitate the creation of new cosmetic products, for example, or how to develop new bio-based materials from the industry. And this is more or less about how to what we were discussing. I don't know if it's possible to move the slides or. So
one do
this
you
is,
need? Yeah, I don't know which one do you want to go.
no, for example, for the quotes or for the idea, just
Yes,
to show
sure.
that we express it in a very different ways. So I think that when we or when you put a problem over the table, it's always more easy just to think about the needs that you have to work on. For example, the regulation support, just to help, for example, women-led alliances to increase their production rates, or how to help business to manage to design new bioeconomic plans just for specific added values that can be extracted or obtained from the olive. And well, this is more or less, we talked also about we were talking also about the ecotourism, or the possibility just to create new cultural values related with olive plantations that can lead to the creation of new ecotourism service, for example, and it was more or less about that. So we didn't have time to find images, but well, I think that we imagine super nice olive with 500 years, or market with more sustainable products, or a city with more green spaces, or communities with more capacity just to have access to green structures, or that kind of things.
Thank you.
Yeah, if my colleagues wants to add something.
Yeah, I think overall with the civil society, we try to put into perspective the consumers angle and how they were benefiting from the health components of olive trees, but also the kind of art organization aspect, no? That we think that in the future we see kind of grassroots movements emerging from the bottom up, and to take the bigger responsibility and commitment to do clusters and associations and interconnect the different opportunities that we see with just one product, no? To make it zero waste. So I think there's a lot of potential for collaborations between different actors, and a lot of empowerment to really move these initiatives forward. So it was nice because I think the three groups managed to cover all the elements of a potential story, putting ourselves in different roles, and it was a big challenge that I'm very thankful that you took part of. It was a first game storming, and I hope that you can now replicate it and adapt it to your own circumstances, initiatives, or challenges, so we can keep building a more holistic mindset, no, and try to imagine a more desired future, no, more constructive. So I think by using this methodology, at least for us, it helped us a lot to play and to have some fun, no, as well, about going beyond our own limits, because I saw some radical ideas that, you know, who knows, no, potentially more regenerative, more circular, that it's all the main goals, no, of the green growth community at the end of the day. So I think we are on the same path. And yeah, without more hesitation, I think we can wrap up. Thank you so much, and we will send you the recordings and the slides so you can keep it for the records, and hopefully we will keep in touch for future workshops and events. Thank you, everyone.